In this video, we will be working through the process to create the simple bookshelf project. We will first begin this process by cutting our sides to width on the table saw. We can then take those sides to the miter saw and cut those to our finished length measurement. We will do the same with the very bottom shelf of our project, first cutting it to width on the table saw and then cutting it to length with the miter saw. I am then going to make my gussets, which take the load of the bottom shelf. We're going to first square up our board on the miter saw and then cut it to length. After that, we can joiner, table saw, joiner, table saw, and joiner once again. On the miter saw, I'm going to cut both ends so I can achieve my finished length before sending it through the planer and bringing it down to my finished thickness. With the gussets complete, I can attach those to my sides, followed by the installation of the bottommost shelf. Our top rear rail is next, first cutting it on the miter saw, followed by the joiner, followed by the table saw, and back to the joiner to clean up that milled edge. After that, we can cut it to our finished length, again on the miter saw, plane it to our thickness. We're going to add a couple pocket holes, and lastly, we can install this on our project. The front stiles follow the same process. First to an oversized length on the miter saw, joiner, table saw, joiner, and then to our finished length. We are moving on to the bottom rail kick plate, first cutting it to length, then sizing it down to width. Following that, we have our top front rail, again sizing it down to length with the miter saw and cutting it to width. We want all of our stiles and rails to be the same thickness, which we will run through the planer to get this. We then want to install the stiles on the carcass of our project, and after that we need to very carefully size those rails to fit between those two stiles. Before installation, I'm going to shape my bottom rail kick plate and then set up for a couple pocket holes which will aid in the installation process. And that will then set me up to install both of my rail pieces. Moving on to our top gussets, we're going to size them down to our finished width measurement, plane them to thickness, cut them to our finished length, and finally we can finish these by installing them on our project. We are now ready for the top of our project, first cutting to an oversized length and squaring up the edges to prep this for glue. We can glue this together, size it down to our width, size it down to our length, and finally plane it to our thickness. At this point, we are ready to work with our pilasters. We need to lay them out and cut them to length before installing them on our project. After the pilasters, we need to install the back. We first want to router a rabbet along the back of our project, square up the corners to accommodate our back, size our back piece to its width measurement, followed by its length measurement, and then we can go through and install the back on our project. Creation of the shelves comes next, first cutting it to width, then sizing it to length, and we can edge band the front of these shelves to cover up the plywood edge, and then we can test it on the project. To wrap up this project, we are going to install the top with a 1-inch overhang and a couple mechanical fasteners. We're going to add a routered edge to the top of the project, and we will do a final sanding to prep it for stain and finish.